You need to get out of her face. You go to another room. A whole another separate room.
I'm sure he has weapons.
Does he have any weapons on him?
Right now, and I'm nervous, and I just want to leave here.
That was 27-year-old Raven Gant on November 28, 2019, calling for help from inside her ex-boyfriend's apartment. Her 2-year-old daughter, Rajaya, was with her. The door was closed, and the man she was afraid of wasn't just controlling. He was a convicted murderer. Police were dispatched. They knocked on the door, got no answer, and left after just 2 minutes. Less than 30 minutes later, Raven Gant was shot in the back. 1 bullet. Fatal. Her 2-year-old daughter standing in the next room crying for her mother. This is the story of Raven Bianca Gant, a beautiful young woman with dreams of hotel management, a loving mother, a daughter, a sister, a friend, a woman who finally found the courage to leave her abuser only to be pulled back in for the last time. How many times can someone shoot people in the back before the law catches up? And when a terrified woman calls 911 begging for help, why wasn't anyone there to save her? Raven Bianca Gant was born in Minneapolis, Minnesota, in the heart of the Twin Cities. From the very beginning, she brought joy to everyone around her. Her mother, Lakeisha, was her world, her anchor, the person she could always count on. Her father adored her. And her brother, Ronald? He was more than family. He was her protector, the one who would do anything to keep her safe.
Out here with the gang.
Raven worked hard. She wasn't just looking for a job. She wanted a career, something she could build, something she could be proud of. She landed a position as an accounts manager at the Union Depot Hotel, and she was good at it. Her best friend, Jakara, remembers her this way.
I would describe Raven as fun, loving, the life of the room, probably the most fashionable in the room.
Raven has always been a hard, super hard worker.
Raven had ambition. She had warmth. She had a natural ability to make people feel safe around her. But then she met Randall Watkins, and everything changed. Randall was 14 years older than Raven, 41 years old when they got together, and he came with a past that should have been a massive red flag. Back in 1995, during an argument over a small amount of money, Randall shot his own friend, first in the back of the leg, then in the head. Cold, calculated murder. He was convicted and sent to prison. But somehow, years later, he was walking free. And that's when Raven crossed his path. Maybe she didn't know who he really was. Maybe she thought he had changed. Maybe she believed she could build something with him, a home, a family, a future. She got pregnant, and soon their daughter Rajaya was born. Raven loved that little girl. She poured everything into giving Rajaya the best life possible.
Oh, ew. Why you look at me, weirdo? Ew.
Ew.
That's so gross.
Offended.
Ew. Cheese, mama. Say cheese.
She was a proud, devoted mother. But behind closed doors, the cracks were starting to show. The abuse didn't explode overnight. It crept in slowly. A shove here, a raised voice there. Threats that left bruises, some visible, many hidden. At first, Raven stayed, quiet. Maybe she hoped things would get better. Maybe she didn't want to believe that the father of her child was dangerous. But in 2016, the truth could no longer be hidden. One night, Raven showed up to a family dinner. with her face bloody and her body bruised. Her brother was horrified. Her father was furious. That night, he confronted Randall directly, and Randall pulled out a gun and shot Raven's father in the back. That should have been the moment the law stepped in, the moment Randall went to prison for attempted murder. The moment Raven's family got the protection they desperately needed. But Raven's father made a choice. He didn't tell police what really happened. He wanted to handle it himself. He wanted to protect his daughter, his way. That choice would haunt him forever. The violence didn't stop. Raven's mother walked into her home one day and saw the proof again. Her daughter with a black eye. This time she called the police. Randall was arrested. But somehow the charges didn't stick. Randall walked free. Again. Raven finally made a decision. She couldn't take it anymore. The bruises, the fear, the constant hiding. She moved out of the home she shared with Randall and went to live with her father. It was supposed to be a fresh start, a chance to rebuild, a way to protect herself and her daughter. But Randall wasn't ready to let go. He had lost control over her, and that drove him mad. Raven's family says she kept a lot to herself, maybe too much. She didn't want them to get hurt. She didn't want her father or brother doing something they'd regret. She was trying to protect everyone but herself.
It was just like any other holiday, and I had no idea of all of this that was going on because of the lengths that my sister was going through to protect this man.
On the morning of November 28th, 2019, Thanksgiving Day, Raven was in good spirits. She posted on Facebook about having an extra turkey, looking forward to the holiday. No one watching her social media could have known that within hours, her life would be over. Earlier that day, Raven went to Randall's apartment. She needed her daughter's clothes, diapers, baby items that he had taken when they broke up. He refused to give them back. She tried to handle it peacefully. She even called the police for help. When officers arrived, Raven was sitting calmly in her car. She explained she wasn't trying to start trouble. She just wanted her daughter's belongings.
Fortunately, I can't force him to open the door and let you go in and get the stuff, okay? That's where my hands are tied.
A civil matter. That's what they called it. The police left, and Raven was on her own. Later that evening, Randall sent Raven a message. "Come back," he said. "Bring the baby. You can get everything." Raven's mother, Lakeisha, felt uneasy. Something about it didn't sit right.
My daughter knew that she was being abused, and she tried to get out of it. But by the time she tried to get out of it, it was a little bit too late.
But Raven told her mother she'd be right back. Just a quick trip. In and out. She would never make it home. Raven arrived at Randall's apartment around 9:30 that night with Rajaya. Randall let them in. The door closed behind them. At 9:37, just 7 minutes later, Raven made the 911 call. You heard at the beginning of this video. She told the dispatcher she was scared. Randall wouldn't let her leave. She mentioned he usually carried a knife, but hadn't seen it that day. The fear in her voice was real. At the same time, Randall also called 911. He claimed Raven had kicked him in the face. He was trying to flip the narrative, trying to make himself the victim. Officers were dispatched. Body camera footage shows them walking up to the door. They knocked once. They didn't call out, didn't announce themselves, didn't look through windows, didn't check the back. The house was dark, they said. Nobody answered. So after just 2 minutes at the scene, they told dispatch nobody was home, and they left. But inside that apartment, Raven was trapped. Time was running out. Randall called 911 again, still playing the victim. He asked how long it would take for officers to come back and remove Raven from his home, as if she was the problem. The dispatcher assured him they'd send someone, but instead of heading straight back to the scene, those officers made a detour several blocks away to use the bathroom to check on a stolen vehicle. Meanwhile, inside Randall's apartment, the situation was falling apart. At 10:08, Raven made a final call, this time to her father. Her voice trembled with fear. She told him Randall wouldn't let her leave. Rajaya was still there, witnessing everything, trapped in the middle of her parents' nightmare. The tension in that room was unbearable. Then, without warning, Randall pulled out a gun and shot Raven in the back. One bullet, fatal, delivered in front of their little girl. Seconds later, Randall called 911 one more time. The call you heard in the opening of this video. He could be heard yelling in the background, shouting that nobody should put their hands on him, while little Rajaya cried nearby. The dispatcher urged him to step away, to go to another room. But by then, the damage was done. Raven had been shot. When officers finally arrived again, Randall walked out of the house with his hands up.
Come on here. There's a little kid here. We got a victim here.
Inside, police found Rajaya standing in the dining room. They asked her where her mommy was. She pointed to the floor. Police walked further into the apartment. What they found would stay with them forever. Raven was lying on her back in the doorway between the kitchen and dining room. She wasn't moving. Raven was rushed to North Memorial Medical Center, but there was nothing they could do. She was pronounced dead shortly before 11 p.m. One bullet. That's all it took. Raven's father showed up at the house while police were still processing the scene. He told them about the call his daughter had made just minutes earlier. He told them Raven had been trying to get away from Randall for a long time, that she had told him about the abuse, that Randall had beaten her before, that he himself had been shot in the back by Randall years ago. But somehow, Randall had remained free, and that freedom cost Raven her life. According to the autopsy, Raven was shot once in the left side of her back. No one knows exactly what was said in those final moments, what her daughter saw, what went through Raven's mind as she realized she wasn't getting out. But one thing is clear, she didn't deserve this. She was a mother who just wanted her child's clothes, a daughter who just wanted to enjoy Thanksgiving, a woman who had finally walked away from an abusive relationship, only to be pulled right back in. Randall Watkins didn't just destroy Raven's future, he tore her family apart. Nearly a year later, on October 23, 2020, justice finally came. Randall Watkins was found guilty of all 3 charges: intentional second-degree murder, unintentional second-degree murder, and being a felon in possession of a gun. The judge handed down the maximum sentence allowed by law, 40 years in prison. She made it clear this case wasn't just about a woman being killed. It was about a little girl who lost everything in one night. The judge stated that Rajaya had lost both her parents, witnessing her father take her mother's life, and would carry that trauma for the rest of her life. Even then, Randall tried to portray himself as the one suffering. He told the court he had loved Raven, that he still loved their daughter, that he never meant to take Raven's life, that he had been attacked. But the judge didn't believe him. Outside the courthouse, Raven's mother, Lakeisha, quietly expressed her pain. But from that pain came a promise. Lakeisha announced the launch of a foundation called Be Their Voice, dedicated to helping women escape situations like Raven's before it's too late. The foundation would be a safe space for those in danger, a place to find support, protection, a lifeline. Lakeisha urged everyone listening to take the first signs of violence seriously. Once the abuse begins, she warned, it doesn't stop. It only gets worse. That message wasn't just for victims. It was for all of us. But even as she worked to turn tragedy into purpose, Lakeisha carried another mission, giving Rajaya a stable, loving life. A life far from the violence she had already witnessed. On the evening of December 6, 2019, candles lit up the corner of West Broadway and Lyndale Avenue in Minneapolis. Family, friends, and neighbors huddled together in the cold, sharing memories, tears, and embraces at a vigil for Raven Gant. For 3 long hours that Thanksgiving night, Lakeisha couldn't rest. Not only because her daughter was gone, but because of how she died. The fear in Raven's voice during those 911 calls, the unanswered cries for help. Lakeisha told her husband something wasn't right, and she was right. But getting answers became a battle of its own. Lakeisha had to fight just to obtain the police body camera footage. It cost her thousands of dollars. But the truth was worth more than money. When she finally received it in 2023 and watched it, her heart shattered all over again. The footage showed officers knocking at Randall Watkins' door. They never announced themselves, never called out, never looked inside. Then they left. After just 2 minutes, they never even spoke to Raven. By the time other officers returned, she had already been shot. Now Lakeisha is fighting again, this time with a lawsuit. She believes the Minneapolis police failed her daughter, and she's not alone. Raven didn't just die at the hands of Randall Watkins. She died because help never truly came. Because the system failed her at every step. Her name now stands as a heartbreaking reminder of what happens when red flags are ignored. When convicted felons are given more chances than their victims. And when women are left to fend for themselves in their most desperate moments. Raven Gant loved her daughter. She loved her family. She worked hard, dreamed big, and tried her best to protect everyone around her. But in the end, nobody could protect her. Not the father who chose street justice over pressing charges. Not the police who knocked twice and walked away. Not the legal system that let a convicted murderer walk free time and time again. Raven's story is a tragedy, but it's also a warning to every woman in a relationship where the first slap has already happened. Leave. Your life is worth more than clothes, more than belongings, more than keeping the peace. To every family watching a loved one suffer, a seat. Press charges. Call the police. Don't let misplaced loyalty cost you everything. And to every system designed to protect us, do better. Because Raven Gant deserved better. Her daughter deserved better. And so does every woman still trapped in the nightmare Raven tried so hard to escape. Rest in peace, Raven Bianca Gant. Your name, your story, your daughter. They will not be forgotten.